Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. In this video, this is day 2 of the Rockford charity group that I was at down in Chicago. Great place to play. A couple of things. One, you'll see that the background's a little bit different. I had a viewer say that the yellow was making his or her eyes bleed. So this room is called Effing Orange Room, as my daughter likes to call it. But a couple of housekeeping things. Donkfish and I are doing a meetup game at the Rockford Charity Group January 5th and January 6th, all day from 12:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. It's going to be at the Mission Hills Country Club, which is a private golf course in Chicago. Please join us, both for PLO as well as we're going to have another table that does PLO and round by round Big O, which should be interesting because it'll also be 8-handed because that's the most you can do on Big O. We do have the merchandises in, so as far as the card protectors, play smart and run like a god was what it says on one side. The other side it says ace, 10 jack, double suited for PLO, of course. And, one of the things that I'll talk about real quick, when I was at the Rockford Charity Group, one of the players came up to me. This was Sunday night after the third day of being there. And he asked me, he said, what makes a professional poker player from a recreational poker player? Besides you pay your bills with it, things of that nature. And he goes, in your opinion, what's the biggest thing that separates the two? And I said, that's an excellent question. We were just sitting down, after playing. And I said, I think the biggest thing is adjustments. I said, most players don't make adjustments. And I think the biggest difference when it comes to professional players versus recreational or amateur players is the longer you play with people, the more reads, habits, idiosyncrasies that you find out that they have, and you can exploit them. So in this video, you're going to see me do a couple things different. You might see some check raising that you probably have never seen before from the PLO professor, something that's very rare. But also you see some value betting. You see a variety of things, but overall, the biggest thing is, I think, making adjustments. So on day 1 there, I ended up losing 3,000. Day 2, I won a decent amount. And day 3, I won a significant amount. And, as you play the same group of people or similar groups of people, you can start making adjustments to play accordingly. And I think that's the biggest difference is there's some people who play pot limit Omaha who end up playing the same way no matter what. They're always going to play the nuts, when they bet that they have the nuts and you fold. Whereas if you're doing it and you're grinding, obviously that's not a bad way of making a living, but if you're doing it and you're grinding, and you're playing against players, you have to make adjustments as you play them. Otherwise, you're going to be very easy to read. So there's a hand that you'll see, 2 hands that you'll see. One, I make a $700 raise, or I raise to $700, and then I end up folding because you're always better off to find out where you're at. And then you'll see another hand. Stay tuned till the very end, where you'll see ace jack 3 ways for a $2,500 pot. Somebody wins with ace jack high. So that's pretty exceptional. But thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel. The link to all the merchandise is going to be in the description. And I really appreciate all of you guys. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers. Hopefully we'll be at 3,000 subscribers within a week or two. So as always, everybody, play smart, run like a god. Alrighty, so first hand that we're looking down at is ace 334 with 3 diamonds in our hand. So here at the Rockford Charity Group, just about everybody straddles. You can straddle anywhere between $10 and $20. So when middle position opens it up to 50, I go ahead and call, and a couple other people are calling, and we're going to go 5 ways to the flop. They do not like to fold here at Rockford Charity Group. at all, in a similar fashion to Texas. And oh wow, we just flopped gin. We flopped the Stone Cold Nuts. We're off to a good start here, everybody, when we flop the nuts. And so I'm obviously not going to slow play this. I go ahead and lead out for 175. And, the only thing I'm going to get called here with really is a set of queens, maybe a set of eights, maybe king or jack high flush. But everybody ends up folding, and we scoop. So on this hand, again, you can straddle anywhere between $10 and $20. So the straddle was up to $20. And we have kings double suited, ace, king, king, deuce, double suited. So this is definitely a premium hand. I'm not going to slow play this. I'm not going to limp with this hand. I decide to juice the pot a little bit. Let's make it 75. We end up getting 2 callers. So we're going 3 ways to the flop. And one of them is on the button. And the flop actually comes gin, 4 jack king. So we flop top set. We obviously have backdoor hearts. We obviously have runner straight. So the first player checks to me. I fire out $200. The guy on the button, he's a little short stacked. So I think he has like 265 or 275 total, 255. So he ends up jamming all in. The other player mucks. Obviously, this is a quick call. I ask him, we can run it once or twice. He says, let's run it twice. And on the first run out, and he even says, he's like, I've got a complete wrap. First run out, we pick up a heart draw, but it's a 10. And then the second run out, he hits a queen. And he ends up winning both hands. So his ace, king, queen, 10 hand with a full wrap, no spades, ends up beating our top set. And sometimes that's just going to happen in Omaha. You just got to be okay with that. Now this next hand that we look down at, we're on the straddle. We have kings again. I see a theory coming in this vlog. So king, 8, 9. I was on the straddle for $20. Somebody makes it 80. I go ahead and call, and a couple other people are going to call. We're going to go 4 ways for $80. So again, multi-way pots are great here at Rockford Charity Group. Love the action. And we end up flopping air. We have complete air. Oh my God, we missed everything. Deuce, 8, jack, all spades. Okay, well, I do have the button. I do believe in the button principle, but I have seen a couple people slow play flushes here, so I really don't have any draw whatsoever. I can go runner full house with an 8 and then a 9, so I'm just going to check it back. It checks all the way through, and oh my God, the turn is a king of spades. Well, now that there's 4 spades out there, it's unlikely somebody's got a flush. And everybody's going to check to me, and you know what? Now I have top set. So even if I do get called, I do have outs. If I bet pot, I could get called by somebody with a set of jacks, but I'm just going to lead out pot. You check to me twice. Even if I have complete air, I'm probably betting pot here with the button principle. And this one guy goes in the tank, and I'm like, what are you going to call me with like a 9 high flush? And he's just like thinking, and I'm like, whatever. If he calls with the 9 high flush, he's good, but I can always catch up. And if he calls with the set and the board pairs, then I can definitely felt him. But you check to me twice, and I'm on the button. I'm definitely going to bet pot. And this guy goes in the tank for a little bit. He ends up making the right decision. He ends up folding. I show him we have a set of kings, and we scoop this one. So on this hand right here, looks like there's a $40 raise from somebody. It might have been me. I'm not really sure. Oh, it definitely wasn't me. Not with this hand. 3, 6, 7, queen. Oh, my God. So we got 5 ways to the flop for $40. The flop's deuce, 3, 9, complete rainbow. Now, this is a situation in which aggression will sometimes win, and sometimes it'll get your hand caught in the cookie jar. So I bet 150. Why am I betting 150? Because this is such a dry board. The only people who should be calling this is a set of deuces and a set of 9s, or like ace 4 5. So when I bet 150, all I'm thinking here is if no one raises, then no one's got a set of 9s, and I'm just going to bomb the turn. Now, I actually get 2 callers. I'm like, what the hell? I get 2 callers on this board. I really hope I pick up some equity on the turn. Ooh, I turned middle 2 pair. Middle 2 pair is almost never good in pot limit Omaha. But if I'm going to tell the story that I have a set of 9s, I better just keep telling the story. So I'm just going to bet pot. 650. Fire it out there. And I am not liking this line by me at all. I've only got $400 behind. Somebody's got a set of deuces. They know they're basically calling off $1,000. If they have a set of nines, I think I would have heard from them on the flop. If they had a set of nines and they slow played it, congrats, sir, you're about to win $1,000. The first player goes in the tank and folds, and then the second player goes in the tank, and he asks me, he says, is two pair no good? And I said, it could be by the river, of course, because at this point I'm like, wow, your two pair is really good. He probably has like nines and deuces or nines and threes. So I actually say to him, because I have a three, which means I'm more likely to have a set of threes, they said, well, you're going to look me up with nine deuce? And he like smiles, and I know that's what he has. He actually has nine deuce. So right now he's got me crushed. But when you face a $650 bet, when somebody bets pot on the flop and then pot on the turn, you know, they're telling a story that they've got a set of nines, they've got a set of threes, you know, or they have a monster hand, like maybe I have ace 4-5 with diamonds. So even if you've got nine deuce here, it's a really tough call. And the guy does not read my soul. He ends up saying you've got, what, 400 behind, so it's really like 1,000. And the guy's 1,000 effective as well. And he ends up laying down the best hand, and I show him that he was good, but we end up taking this one due to aggression. So here's a really cheeky hand. It's a $15 straddle. I make it 30, and after I make it 30, it goes all the way back to, I believe, the cutoff, and the cutoff decides to make it 100. Well, I'm on the button. He's just sweetening the pot. I sweeten the pot a little bit by making it 30. He decides to juice it up and make it 100. I look down at my hand, ace, 6, 8, 10 double suited. Now, this is actually a good contender to 4-bet since the guy 3-bet. Actually, if I did not have an ace, if I had a 7 or a 9 of hearts, I would probably 4-bet here, especially since we're about $2,000 effective. But instead, I just call. We go 8 ways to the flop. Good Lord, $800 in the pot already. Oh, the flop is deuce 3, 9. Now, there is clubs out there, and I have 2 clubs. So it's going to checks. The other guy who made it 100, he checks. Now, I do have a club draw, given it's a 10-high club draw. But at this point, I'm like, you know, there's so much in the pot. It's not exactly a dry flop. I mean, obviously, clubs are there. You know what? I think I'm just going to play this one a little safe right now. So I'm just going to check it. So it checks around. Turn comes a 5 of clubs. Now, here's a situation where you guys will be like, what the hell are you doing, Professor? The first player, the small blind, decides to bet out for $200. Now, this is a player who kept betting out and making calls with really weak flushes, like 8 high flushes, 7 high flushes, 6 high flushes, sometimes jack high flushes. Now, when the caller in between us calls, I'm thinking, all right, this guy's got a set. The guy in the black shirt across from me, and I'm like, and the other guy's got a weak flush. So I'm going to get the weak flush out, and maybe if he's got jack or queen high flush, I can get him to fold. So I make it $700, and I'm thinking, even if you have a jack high flush or queen high flush, it's really hard to call here. But I make it $700. I raise $500. I believe I can get the best hand to fold, and I can get a set to still call. Now, what happens is something I did not expect to happen. So the guy in the small blind, he just decides to call. At this point, I'm like, I'm done with this hand. I'm not betting the river. Even if he's got jack or queen high flush, I'm still not betting he's going to win. Now, the guy in the black shirt, very animated, love to play with this guy. He acts like he's smoking a cigarette. He stands up and he announces he's all in. At this point, I'm like, wow, he must have an ace high flush, and he's just slow playing it. Maybe he's a little bit of a tighter player, but I am done with this hand. And he did. He ended up having the ace high flush, and the small blind had the king high flush. So here on this next hand, again, we have a straddle. Everybody's limping. And we've got 3, 8, 9, 9. Not exactly the best hand, but we do have pocket 9, so we can always flop top set. We do have a connector, 8, 9. And we do have clubs, even though they're weak clubs. So the button decides to raise to 60, and I'm like, well, I'm already in for 10, basically 1/6 in rule. Just kidding, there is no 1/6 rule. But you know what? I'm going to call. It's for the viewers. It's for you guys. Whatever. $60 in the pot. Let's see what happens. You never know what happens, especially when we're a little deep. So 5 players to the flop. Wow, we got $310 in the flop. Oh, the flop's 3, 5, 7 rainbow. So here I've got a gutter ball. I have bottom pair, and I have backdoor clubs. These are not exactly great things to have in PLO, but you know what? I'm going to lead for 225. So far, this table's been pretty passive, and aggression has been paying off, believe it or not.
So I bet out for 225. They like to see a lot of flops here, but they end up like to folding a lot. So I get one caller. Okay, one caller. Now their deuce comes on the turn. That really doesn't change anything. I mean, if the guy does have ace four, he now has a straight. But if he flopped a straight before, he's good. If he flopped a set, he's still going to proceed with caution. And I don't know if I'm going to get looked up. And if he's got like a set of fives or a set of sevens. So it goes check, check. Oh my God. The river is my gin card. Hello. We backdoor into the nuts. Now I'm really hoping that this guy's got like a set of fives with a four. Maybe he's even got like 4, 5, 5, 8. Anything that I can get value from. So when the individual decides to check to me again, I'm like, you know, I got to go for max value. I chased it. I chased my gutter ball. I'm going to pot it. I'm going all in. I had about one pot size bet left, as you can see. I had about 760. He mucks the set, and we end up scooping this one. All right, now as you can see in this hand, so far I've called $10 for the straddle. And I'm going to look down at my hand, and we're going to see ace 10, 3, 4 with the suited ace. So obviously with the suited ace, we do have a contender to raise here. I really like this hand in high-low versus high, but instead everybody limps, which is fine. You're going to have that from time to time. 7 ways to a pot. We got $70. We got a little pot building. Oh my, the flop is 10, 7, 4. Super draw heavy board, even though there's no flushes out there, but because there's all the wraps, 5, 6, 8, 9, jack. So I just bet 30. A little bit under half pot. Right now, we're just trying to build a pot here. And we end up getting a couple of callers, which is perfectly fine with me. You know, if I don't improve, I'm probably going to be done betting. So we go 5 ways to the turn, and oh wow, we turn a full house. So now we have 4s full of 10s. So we do lose the pocket 7s. We do lose the pocket 10s. I'm just going to bet out $60. If somebody has pocket 10s, I probably would have heard from them on the flop. And if somebody's got pocket 7s, I'm definitely going to hear from them now. But I'm basically betting 1/4 pot when I bet $60. So I end up getting one caller. We're out of position. We're first to act. River comes to 3, so I check to induce a bluff, and the guy checks back. And we show that we're good. 4s full of 10s, and we end up scooping this one. All right, now in this one, it's 15 to go pre. And we're going to go ahead and look down, and what do we see here? 3, 8, 10 queen. Is that what I saw? Oh, 3, 8, 10 queen. Double suited. So, oh wow, the flop is ace 7, 9 with 2 diamonds. So we flop an open-ended straight draw. There's also a flush draw out there. You know, there's 5 players to the flop for $20, and somebody bets out 40. And you know what? We're going to call. We're not going to go anywhere on this board. So we're going 4 ways to the turn. And the turn is hopefully going to bring us some luck. Nope, it's a deuce of hearts. That did not help us at all. So I go ahead and check. Next player is going in the tank for a little bit. He decides to bet out. He bets out 175. Well, you know what? At this point, I do have an open-ended straight draw. I do have a flush draw. You know what? What we have to do, I think, is we have to call here. We can't raise, but I tell you what, if you guys hit the like and subscribe right now, maybe it'll bring us some luck. Maybe we'll hit that black 6. Maybe we'll hit that black jack. So we go 3 ways to the river. I'm thinking, come on, baby. I know I've only got 6 outs because even though I have a diamond, there's a player in there who I know must have nut diamonds. And oh my God, we bink the river. We bink the jack of spades. All right. And so yeah, now we're going to check. We have the stone cold nuts. We're going to check because our goal here is to check raise, something you do not see from the professor very often. And when it checks to the button's got to feel pretty confident that their set of 9s or their set of aces is probably the best hand. So they bet 475. Now, when they bet 475, I'm thinking to myself, what can I raise it to get called with? So let's make it $1,100. If you think about it, $1,100, it's only an extra like $600 for him to call to win a possible pot of like $2,500. And so he's actually getting like 4 to 1, 4.5 to 1 on his money. Problem is in PLO, when do you ever check raise when you don't have the nuts? And but yeah, I did this. It looks very suspicious. He ends up calling. Oh, good Lord. We're going to win a nice pot. We end up showing that we have the goods. And this is part of making those adjustments that I talked about. This was a player I played with on day one, and I knew what his tactics were typically to value bet the river, even if he didn't have the nuts. And I knew by check raising I was going to get the most amount of value. So again, making adjustments is key as you play, especially when you play against people day in and day out, or you're playing against the same group of people 2 or 3 days in a row. All right, buckle up, Buttercup. We got a real live one here. So here we go. It's a straddle for $10, and somebody decides to pop it up. And they're going to pop it up pretty significantly. I'm in the small blind, so, I mean, I was already in for $5, so another $5 is pretty much just about any 4 cards. I look down at Ace, Jack, 5, 6 with 3 diamonds. So I've got a suited ace. The guy decides to make it 100 on the button. Thanks, guy. I tell the table, I'm like, well, at least I'm the first one that gets to bluff at it if I completely miss the flop. So we end up calling 100, and we go 7 ways to the flop for $100. Again, these guys do not like to fold here in Chicago. Oh, my God. The flop is Jack 6-4, 2 hearts, super, super draw-heavy board. Any wrap here is going to call 3-5-7, 5-7-8. You know what? I decide the best way to win this pot is just to bet it out, because if I check here, even though all I have is top 2 pair and it's super draw heavy, if I check and it checks all the way around, what's a safe card for me, really? I mean, maybe an ace, maybe a jack or a 6. So there's really no safe cards in here. So one of the things I teach my students is when in doubt, pot it out. So in this situation, I've got top 2 pair. I want to charge maximum for all draws. Anybody who's got a wrap and a flush draw, I actually like their hand more than my hand. But in this situation, I'm just going to run with it. So I bet out 720. Gentleman to my left, he's all in for $810. Okay, now I know. And this is a guy who, again, was calling with a lot of medium, small flush draws. So I'm thinking he's probably got like 5-7 with hearts. I'm thinking I just need a clean run out. Now I find out another player on the table who happens to be pretty tight ends up going all in and calling for the rest of his chips, which was, I think, around $300. So now I'm like, okay, we're all in 3 ways on this pot that just ballooned really quickly. I got to get lucky. I'm hoping that they both are holding on to each other's hearts, and I'm just hoping for like running black 9s or a jack or a 6. Black ace I would be okay with. Basically anything that's 9 or higher I'm somewhat okay with, as long as it's not a heart. So I know I've got to fade a lot. I don't know what my equity is against a wrap and a flush draw, but I know my equity is probably less than what the equity of a wrap and a flush draw is here. But again, this is about making adjustments. Make the adjustment, bomb the flop, so that way the smaller flush can call. So we get it all in for all the way. And we're going to see a run out. Let's hope for a clean run out. 4 clubs, not the clean run out. 4 of spades. 4. Oh, I have ace jack high. I turn it over like it's the nuts. If anybody has played with me before, no matter what I have, I just turn it over. I'm like, yeah, I had 2 pair, but now I've got just ace jack high. And they're in the tank. They're trying to find something. The first player mucks. There's the wrap and the flush draw in the muck. And the second player mucks. We end up scooping a huge $2,500 pot with ace jack high. Can you believe it? That's found money right there.
So today went a little bit better. There was no 5100 game because the WSOP is in town and their main event was tonight. But we did manage to be in for 2,000 and we're out for 3,500. So we cut our loss in half from yesterday. This place is great. I'm surprised there's so many people on the waiting list at Rivers. There are like 30 people on the waiting list. I mean, if you come here, if you're in Chicago and you're playing poker and you come to the Rockford Charity Group, you're not going to have to wait very long. And if you know people who are at Rivers and who are waiting and tired of waiting 2 and 3 hours just for a PLO game, man, just all they take is five or six people to start up a game. The host here is great. He'll even play in the game to help the game get started and get going. And, so it's one of those things where if you're playing PLO and you're playing at Rivers and you end up having a long wait, I would strongly encourage you to check out the Rockford Charity Group. Super nice guys here. Dealers are great. Plus, they allow you to record, which is pretty awesome. So, but yeah, I'm going to have my sub and then go to sleep and hit the reset button and do it all over again tomorrow. So play smart, everybody. Run like a god.